Good morning. I just saw everyone chatting away, so I thought let's just start the stream a little bit earlier, just to say hi to everyone. Hi, Robbie. Hi, Digital Business. Hey, Belle. Can't believe it's Thursday. It is actually a public holiday here in Singapore. But, market's still open, so we're still going on. And then, hey, it's Thursday, 29th of June. Soon it'll be the 30th, and then it'll be July. Second half of the year coming up. Hey, Janby, good morning. Hey, Peter, how are you doing? Well, no rest for the wicked and no rest for the nice people that we have here as well. We do get our rest in sometimes. I've got the stream started, but let me just go grab some water and I'll be back. What did you do, Robbie? What did you do? Hey, everyone on Trading.live. Good to see you guys as well. Good morning, Matic. Hey, Spiros, how are you doing? Finally, you caught us. Good to have you here. Time flies when you're having fun. Time flies when you're having fun, especially on the stream. DXY moving on the open. Yep. A couple of trades from last night. Good afternoon, D Wizard. It is a public holiday in Singapore. I think in Southeast Asia, maybe, or in a lot of the parts of the world. But I work on the FX market timing, so not quite a holiday. How about you guys? Anyone celebrating Eid? Anyone celebrating today? If you are, wishing you all a very happy Eid. Sorry, don't know the exact terms. um, I did come in a little bit later. I did come in a little bit later today, so I might not go home earlier. I might still be working on other stuff. I do have a couple of other things to work on, so came in a bit later, but probably still a full day for me. Couple of minutes before we get started. Yeah, it is a Malaysian holiday. We will get going soon. If you guys haven't already, the link again, I'm spamming the link, but the link is there. Do make sure you join. We have reached more than breached the 300 member number already, so I'm super happy about that. So if you haven't already, do join up. It is absolutely free to join. The link is there for you guys. Thanks, Val. Yeah, I do. Sometimes it just gets a bit boring, so I'd rather be in the office working and stuff. Hey, Michael, I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well today. Thank you. Had a two good trades. Well, no, two and a half good trades last night. US yen in particular, and the pound a dollar especially. So I'm super happy about that. Blank, Blanche, you're not exactly late. We are going to be starting in about 1 to 2 minutes. This is a market analysis, so I will be sharing with you my views about where I think markets could be heading. Looking at the fundamentals, doing a bit of a review of projections, looking at technicals, looking for some possible trade setups. Fantastic, Coral. Good to see. Thank you, Gemma. Good to have you guys here with us. I'm going to try and figure out how to integrate the trading.live chat together with the YouTube chat and all the other stuff. Peter, I don't have a 300,000 MFF challenge. Mine's only 100K. I might start another. I was telling you guys about starting another one and trading live together with you guys. Sorting out my schedule right now, so we'll get to that. Good question there from Digital Business. He said that I noticed sometimes you exit your trades before the analyzed TP according to your perceived price movement. As a trader, trying to discipline myself to follow a plan, a trade plan. So sometimes I do get out of my trades earlier for several reasons. I look at it and I think there might be a bit of a retracement, so I would get out of a trade, don't want to hold on to it, or I might get out of a, I might get out of a, oh, shit. I might get out of a trade early. If I see an opportunity on another trade, right, on another currency pair, so it would be like I don't want to enter too many trades. I'll close out this one thinking that it's slowing down. I'll jump into another trade, or ultimately, if I'm just going to go to sleep or go do something else, I'm jumping onto another meeting, another call, might not be watching my trade, then I would prefer to close out. I'm very hands-on with my trades, so I don't like leaving it running, not knowing what's going to happen, because anything can happen. So I do prefer to close out my trades when I'm not looking at it. For example, during this session, right? This session is at 3 p.m. GMT plus 8. I do try to close out unless it's running very well into the money, I would try to close out my trades, just because if I do look at prices and it starts to move, then I'll get super distracted while talking to you guys and then trying to manage my trade. So I do tend to prefer to close out my trades if I'm not fully focused on it. Good to have you here, Miriam. Okay, continue. Do you recommend I stay till TP analyze or exit according to my preference, or either profit based or potential retracement? Okay, so I would say that the TP level is always a good place to get out. However, always have a reason to get out of a trade, and that reason to get out of a trade um, shouldn't be profit based, right? It shouldn't be profit based. It shouldn't be, oh, I've made X amount of dollars or X amount of pips. I want to get out of a trade now, because that's going to mess with your psychology or your emotions later on. Because imagine if you said, oh, I made 20 pips. I'm happy with that. I'll get out. And then the market falls by another 20 pips. You're like, oh, I should have held on to it. And then the next time you do that, um, then finally, when you decide to hold on for that 40 pips, it just stops at 20 and retraces. So shouldn't get out because of a profit number, but you should get out, if your style is similar to mine, where you like to watch and manage your trades, then I'll get out if I can't manage it. Or, if I'm going to sleep, I'm more of an intraday trader. Mostly intraday. I got some swing trades, but mostly intraday. So if I'm intraday, then I'll be, keeping to the rule where I'll get out by the towards the end of the day when I go to bed, or when I go do something else, right? And then lastly, it would be a exiting a trade if I see a news coming up. For example, yesterday's um, conference with the central bankers, or if I see a big news which could retrace fully, then I'll look to get off a trade. So always have a reason why you would want to get out of a trade. It shouldn't be just based on a profit number. All right. All right. So I just realized I rambled on a little bit, and we should get started. Good morning, Godju. Okay. So a good point there from Robbie. So Robbie was just saying that earlier in the chat, where he was saying that he had some bad trades. It's never bad trades, it's learning trades. He's been on a streak of learning on his trades. So I asked, why did you get into those trades? It's just had dinner, a market move, got in late, bought high, sold low, right? So that's one of the very common issues that most traders will face, right? This, I can tell you that, I've been trading for many, 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 I always say 10 years, but it's more than 10 years right now. And I've been coaching people for almost 10 years now already. I've been running courses and coaching people like yourselves on how to trade. And Robbie actually came in from Philippines to trade and learn from me and trade together with me for a couple of days. Um, Getting into a trade late is a very common situation. It's the most common situation. It's not so much where you get into a trade and it's you don't know what you're doing. It's usually when you get in late. I do have the tools there to help you. I hope you use the Bollinger Bands there, Robbie, for preventing you from getting in too late. Your support resistance levels do help you prevent you from getting in too late as well. And ultimately, the sequence or the thought process leading to a trade entry should prevent you, or should minimize scenarios where you do get into a trade late. Okay, so things to think about there. Not just for Robbie, but for everyone else who does come across the situation that you feel like you're buying right at the top or selling right at the bottom. Alrighty, so let's get started. I did ramble on for a little bit, so thank you for being patient with me. I hope I've been sharing good information with you guys. This is the daily market analysis, 3 p.m. every day, GMT plus 8. Whether it's a public holiday or not, I am here for you guys, unless I'm traveling or doing something else. Then sometimes I do miss sessions, but most of the time I'll be here for you guys. All right. So do help me out. Click that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Click that rocket ship and follow button on TradingView. And if you're on trading.live, make sure you subscribe to my profile and also click on that little hand clappy thing there. Okay. During this session, what I do is I'll look at the fundamentals. I'll look at what has happened. review that, tell you more about that, what's coming up. And then also we look at the technicals in terms of where price is, where price could head towards. Combine that together, we look for some possible trade setups in terms of high probability, hopefully high probability trade setups. These are all done on H1 time frame, just so that we keep it relatively intraday, so that by the next time we speak tomorrow 3 p.m. We do have a new set of trade setups to consider again. With that, if you are new to this session, do make sure you drop a message, say hi, let me know where are you from, joining me from. I love to find out. And if you are regular, all the regulars I know, I recognize names, I remember all of you guys. I appreciate your time for joining me. And have any questions, put it into the chat, let me know, I'll be happy to help. Quick disclaimer, any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. The contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product, and your objectives, financial situation, and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. So breeze through that. Let's get going. Let's get started. So what I do all the time, first up, I always look at Forex Factory just to tell me what has happened and what's coming up. Okay, so yesterday we had our session yesterday, told you all about it. At 9:30 p.m. GMT +8, we did have the ECB President Lagarde speaking, BOE Governor Bailey speaking, BOJ Governor Ueda speaking, and the Fed Chair Powell speaking at the ECB Forum Policy Panel. Nothing much from Lagarde, nothing much from Bailey, nothing much from Ueda, but the volatility came when Fed Chair Powell came out and his statement caused massive, well, relatively massive upside for the dollar index, right? I was posting this in the group, in the Discord channel. I was saying, hey, make sure you join this session because the question right now is, following this news event last night, is the dollar index going to continue strengthening, or is it going to retrace? Are we going to see a bounce right across the board? So that's the question here. What Chair Powell said during the policy panel last night, you can just look at the headlines here. Policy hasn't been restrictive for very long, and more restriction is coming, right? More restriction is coming. And then there was one more line where where was it? Let me see. There was one more line. Yeah. A strong majority of Fed policymakers expect 2 or more rate hikes by year end. Okay. So before the session last night, the idea was that the US might have increased rates sufficiently. They might be looking at a slowdown or slowing down. They might be looking at a pause in further rate hikes. They have ruled out a pivot, which means that they're gone from a increase to a cutting. So they've ruled out a pivot. Right now, the question was, are they going to slow down? Are they going to pause? From last night's statement from Chair Powell, he's saying, hey, it hasn't been restrictive for long, might not have been restrictive for long enough, and also it might be 2 more rate hikes to come by towards the end of the year, right? Within this next 6 months. So that caused that massive upside on the dollar index. You see here on the dollar index, I'll zoom it in a little bit, at 9:30, right, at 9, it started pushing up, and then at 9, it break past that trend line and climbed as high as all the way through to today, this afternoon, that 103.20 level, right, 103.20 level. So a big push because of the statement from Fed Chair Powell saying that might not have been restrictive for long enough, and also that there might be 2 or more rate hikes to come. Okay, so it becomes hawkish for the dollar index. The question I had, I did trade the pound dollar down as we were talking about yesterday. I did trade the US yen up. I did trade the Aussie down. But the question now is, with the way everything has moved, are we going to see it continue, or is it going to bounce? Is it going to retrace from the statement? So far, what we're seeing here is that it is retracing back down, right? Went to a high of 103.20 last time there. Now it looks like it's coming back down. I think that it might still be a little bit early days for now, but we'll do an update on that. Okay. With that said, for today, Fed Chair Powell spoke again at the fourth conference on financial stability hosted by Bank of Spain in Madrid. I don't think, well, it's 2:30. I don't think we've seen that impact so far. Then we have the German preliminary CPI to be released. Looks like it might climb slightly, not going to do too much. The final, so a common thing that most people will be looking at this is, oh, final GDP. It's a red news. It's possibly going to be important. At this point right now, the main news events that we focus on is interest rates decision, CPI or inflation growth data, core PCE price index for the US, and statements from the central bankers. GDP typically should have good impact on the price volatility, but in the recent theme of economic analysis, is not, I don't think it's going to move prices too much, especially if it goes from 1.3 to 1.4%. Not a big change on a quarter-to-quarter basis. It's not threatening a recession, right? So it's not in that negative territory, so it's not threatening a recession. So I'm not too concerned about the final GDP number. Employment claims number as well, it is a weekly number, so I'm not too concerned about that either. Moving on from that onto tomorrow, you can see a lot of news, but not big price movers, all the way through to 8:30 core PCE price index for the US was 0.4, expected 0.3%. Okay, so I'll tell you more about the core PCE price index tomorrow during our session. So what you should gather here is that it looks relatively straightforward to trade. My view is that we might see a bit of a rebound. We saw big price movements yesterday, so we might see a bit of a retracement before potentially a continuation to that dollar strength, because there's nothing here that's going to suggest a possible reversal. Okay, so far so good. Okay, cool. Robbie said, reviewed the trade. Entry was a bit late, but can pass. Was not able to manage it. Was not able to exit the trade when it was 20 pips outside. Oh, okay. So it's not that, Robbie, it's not that you got into a trade late or it was terrible. When it was 20 pips outside Bollinger Band, that would have been the perfect place to get out of a trade. So that's another reason, another example of where I would say, deciding when to get out of a trade. If you can't monitor it, get out of a trade, or even getting into a trade. When you're looking at it and you're thinking, I get into a trade now, but I've got 50 different other things to do, then I might not even get into a trade. I would, go focus on doing something else first. Okay, so don't feel like you have to force or you have to rush into a trade. With that, then let's look at the charts. My concern is the number of unemployment claims are expected to be higher today. Unemployment claims for today could, I think, you look at it, it doesn't have a big volatility in terms of the number, so it's always thereabouts. And because it is a weekly number, it might have some volatility, but I don't think it's going to change prices too significantly. Okay. Good morning, Godju. Hi, Angel Case. How are you doing? So here, now looking at the dollar index, today is the 29th of June. We're heading into the second half of the year. We can see that the dollar climbed last night, as we were saying, climbed up to that 103.20 level, now retracing back down. Okay, I'll check this. It could make sense here. So adjusting this, so this trend line we had from yesterday, it's broken. It broke that trend line. That trend line was broken. So even if I did adjust this up, it would still work, come quite close on the tops there, and now retracing back down. So the main thing you see here is that the dollar yesterday, as we were talking, or not yesterday, on Tuesday, bounced off that 61.8 and went up, tested that almost that previous high, and now retracing back down. I would be tempted to think, let me just think. I'm just trying to figure out right now is that how low could it retrace to before climbing back up again? Just zoom in a little bit. Right, this resistance level holds quite well. Trend line holding, looking like it's going to retrace. I would like to think that it's going to come back down all the way. Yeah, I would like to think that it's going to come back down all the way. It could get back to that 50% level, which is not very far away. So if we just looked at that, okay, here we go. We know that's the 50% level, and that was where it was all consolidating at about 102.78 or 102.80. What I could be looking for here is that if the dollar index does break, okay, let's put another line here. Did we know this was 61.8 from before? So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that if the dollar index does break below 102.78, then we could see it trade down to 102.40. But I think that with no major news events for the dollar, it's going to possibly be within this range between 102.40 and 103.20, or between this range. Right, so it's crucial. I wouldn't rush into a trade for now, unless it breaks below 102.80. So 29th of June, I'm watching for reaction at 102.80. Okay, if broken, then we could see it could trade down to 102.40. All right, so it all depends on what happens at this level, breaking back down into this range. I don't think at this point it'd be reasonable to think that the dollar index could come down to that 102 support level for now. Alrighty. It was very bullish yesterday, didn't expect some drastic sell today. Oh well, typically it does have that impact, right? It's trading back down again, so that might happen. So that's the overall view for what I think the dollar index could do. Retrace, if it breaks below 102.80, then we might see a more sustained move back down to 102.40. Then between this in this range. It could bounce back up again, but we'll see what happens. So with that, then looking at the Kiwi dollar. Okay, Kiwi dollar, yesterday we were saying that at that point it could bounce back up before turning back. We're still bearish on the Kiwi. It did not bounce back up, so I'll take that away. In fact, it did trade down, right? You could have been that 15 pips in. It wasn't a big trade to the downside. I didn't get into the Kiwi dollar on that one. But right now, it is in this range. It is consolidating in this range, anticipating that the dollar could weaken before maybe bouncing back up. So being in this range, I think that on the Kiwi dollar, we could be looking for this to trade within this range, bounce very similar to yesterday's view, bounce back up before coming back down. I don't think it will bounce too much. So 50%, let's see where it goes. Right, so this earlier today, or early this morning, it came very close to that 23.6. I think a consolidation at this point. Oh, Kevin got into the Kiwi. Fantastic. Good one, Kevin. Kelvin. All right, within this range, I think that I wouldn't do anything right now. Okay, so you see again, I like this idea of a consolidation. If it does break out of this consolidation, I would be looking for it to test that 38.2 or 0.6117, which is also that resistance area. I'll be looking for that. Then I'll be looking to sell down from that point. Okay, so I do realize that I draw my areas quite far away. So I'll be looking for 6117, stop loss 20 pips, take profit down to the low of about 40 to 50 pips to the downside. I'll be looking for that on the Kiwi dollar. Yeah, so I'll be looking for this to correct, to retrace before looking to sell. Retrace and reject before looking to sell back down. If it does retrace quite strongly, I would be very hesitant to buy this back up. Still looking at this as a big downward move. So, just be a bit more careful if you're trying to buy it up. Look for retrace before and a rejection to sell down. Okay, so 6117, stop loss 20, take profit 50. Sell 6117, stop loss 20, take profit 50. Alrighty. Then onto the Aussie dollar. So I did get into the Aussie. I'll share with you what I did on the Aussie. There we go. Okay, so we were talking about this yesterday. I was looking for it to bounce and then turn down, or we were saying that if it doesn't bounce and it just breaks the support level, we could see it trade down, which is why we had that trade there. I'll take those away for now. That one worked out halfway. And that's why I said it was 2.5 good trades. Hi Lydia, how are you doing? So what I did on the Aussie was, again, I saw a bit of that area, right? The news happened, and then it was consolidating along this range. I did get into a trade as it broke that support level. I think I did something like that. So it was a very quick trade. It was a 20. So this is a 30 pip. So it was a 20 to 20 kind of trade. Like that. I got in, got out quite quickly. Zoom in a bit for you guys. Right, got in, got out quite quickly on the Aussie. I was trying to think that it could go all the way down, but as it was dropping, I said, right, 2020, we'll get out of a trade. So that was the Aussie trade that I had from yesterday. right now, very similar to the Kiwi dollar where it's consolidating just below that support turned resistance level. Right, just below that support turned resistance level of 6631. So what I'm looking for here is actually I'm a little bit um, more hawkish. No, not more hawkish, more optimistic on the Aussie dollar. I would actually be looking to see whether it could break out, and it looks like it's a little bit nearer. Whether it could break this resistance and then test and turn back down. Right, still looking for that downward move. So I'm looking for this to happen. Okay, looking for that. It is a little bit of a bit of a bigger move, but because of the way it's consolidating, there was that big drop, right? And we could be looking for it to come back up to this point, at 61, just within that range. So looking for it to test this level. I'll be looking to sell. A little bit of aggressive move is 6659, below 6660. Stop loss very tight at about no more than 20 pips. Take profit could be down to 60 pips to the downside. All right, I know this resistance level is there, or support turned resistance level is there. 61.8 has broken, right? It's broken already, so it's slightly invalidated. I'll be looking for it to test that trend line before trading back down again. That's my 20 pips. That would make sense. Alternatively, it could just come up slightly, test 6630 and turn back down. Let me see. I think that there's some way further to go on the dollar index. So I don't think that we're going to see a small retracement. We might see a more sizable retracement back up. Okay, it might be at 6650. 6660, between 6660 to 6650 would be a reasonable place to be looking to sell Aussie down. Sell 6660 to uh, 0.6650. Stop loss about 20 pips. Take profit about 60 pips to the downside. Okay. Is underlying inflation the same with core inflation? It's not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. Core inflation is more focused on the, what do you say? A bit like the core products, right? The core products. So not exactly the same as the underlying inflation, but it is considered all together. So good question there, Lydia. Okay. So yeah, dollar index looks like it should be coming back down, but might struggle a little bit. Yeah, I think that it looks like it should still come down. Then I'm just looking at the Aussie. I'm not. I would like to say that it's going to retrace. No, I tell you what. That's a little bit hopeful. I think a realistic view on the Aussie will be for it to trade up to around this range and turn back down. I don't think it'll come all the way up. I think if it comes all the way up, it's going to be too significant. I'll be happy if it comes back up to that 6650 level. Test and reject 6650 to sell down. So I'll take away 6660. Okay. Then what we'll be looking at would be something like 6640, in fact, 40 pips, tight stop. maybe 20 pips previous high. I'm very uncomfortable with what the Aussie is doing right now, especially just trying to give you guys the trade setup. I think the safest thing that I would suggest to you guys would be to, as much as it's going to retrace, I don't know how far I could retrace. That's the problem with the retracements. Safest thing you do is 6630, look to sell down when it breaks through. So 6625, 25 pip stop loss, 70 pip take profit down to the next support level. I'll be more comfortable if you guys were thinking about a setup like that. So it could go wherever it goes, only looking to sell once it breaks through that level again. Okay, so 6625, stop loss 25, take profit 70. Sorry, I'm a bit waffling on this Aussie dollar. Just like to get the levels as what I would be most comfortable with. Jacobus, looking at the indices, what I'll do, I don't really trade the indices too much. So what we'll do is we'll put it into the Discord channel. There is a channel on the Discord server for indices, so we'll put it in there. So do make sure you join that channel. Okay. I'll write it up and I'll put it there. And everyone else will be sharing as well. US yen, we were looking at this. This is one of the trades I was very happy I got in and got out of as well. 144.20. Right, we were sitting there watching it, stalking this trade. Once it got to the 144.20 level, I did get into a trade. I, however, got out a little bit too early. I got out at 144.60. The first move it hit, I got out, right? Because it went off to do something else. And then it retraced. Right now, early this morning or afternoon, it did continue to the upside, right? It did continue to the upside before now retracing back down. With the way it is moving now, okay, BOJ is now live for action. Comment. What is this? Option expiry date now captures the 28th. Bank decline announcement, significant spike in implied volatility with its downside strike. Premium shows a market fearful of policy action. So we're talking about an intervention, possible intervention, or markets fearing an intervention come from the BOJ, and that's why we're seeing it reverse. 1 month expiry has doubled its premium for calls over puts to 1.4. Vocal about displeasure with weakness and would prevent deferred declines by an intervention. So that's going to be interesting. And that's why we're seeing this pull back. So extending this trend line up, I would say that I don't think an intervention is going to happen. My view, I don't think intervention is going to happen right now. So I think that you could still be looking for a buying opportunity if it comes back down, especially if it does come back down to test this resistance turn support level of 143.87 or 143.90. I would be looking for a buying opportunity, still trending to the upside, right? So you have that channel to the upside as well, that two trend lines supporting the move to the upside there. Okay, so I will be looking to buy if it comes down, test, and bounces back up, right? Not when it gets to that point. So if it comes down, test, and bounces 144, very similar to yesterday's. So 144.10, take profit about 90 pips, stop loss about 30 pips, a 1:3 risk reward ratio to the upside. Okay, cool. I like that one. I like it when it retraces. It gives an opportunity to get into a trade. Buy 144.10, stop loss 30, take profit 90. Okay, but you have to wait for the retracement to complete. You have to wait for it to retrace, either break through and bounce back up, or bounce right at that support and trend line confluence before buying back up. If it just goes back up, it might be a little bit too high. Might be a scalping trade, but not an intraday kind of trade. Can't remember anything after what you have said. I would say that the summary sheet is there, so do check it out. Then looking at the pound dollar, this is one trade I absolutely loved. I know a couple of you did get into that trade. If you did get into the pound dollar trade, put it into the chat, let me know. This one we were looking at, we said, as a flip side, if we saw the dollar strengthen, this was from yesterday, if we saw the dollar strengthen, it did break that support level of 1.27. I was looking to sell it down. This was a trade I got into, right? So that level, I was stalking it. I was watching it all the way, thinking that it's going to come to 1.26. It came as low as 1.2607. I did get out at 1.2610, right? So I got out very close to my take profit. That was a very nice trade from yesterday. About, I think it was slightly less than 75. It was about 70. I think I got in a little bit later, but it was about a 70 pip move to the downside. Okay, so do let me know if you got onto the pound dollar trade from yesterday. Right now, in the middle, between that resistance and support level, I wouldn't be. I mean, the next one we have, the next big level here is at 1.2489, 1.2490, 1.25. I wouldn't be thinking to, as a speculative position again, I would say a continuation to the downside. So it might bounce, it might consolidate. What I'm looking for at this point is for it to break that 1.26 level, so 1.2590. Stop loss tight at about 25 pips. Take profit could be down to that 90 pip level towards that support of 1.25 again. Okay. Good morning, Jamil. How are you doing? So sell 1.2690 or 1.2590. Stop loss 25. Take profit about well, let's just say 80. 25 to 80. Here we go. Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Is it? Oh wait. Is it moving? Does it work? Are we still streaming? Okay, so one person said it's still working. It should be, looks like it's still working. Okay, all good, all good. Thank you. Hey, Chinon, how are you doing? Hey, Mino, how are you doing? Okay, all good. Yeah, I just had some, it just paused a little bit on my screen, and some people were saying that it might have frozen, so good to know that's all okay. All right. Um, that looks like it's going to retrace a little bit before turning back down. Safer option would just be to look for it to sell down. Euro dollar, we were looking for it to bounce off that trend line. It didn't happen. Did not even trigger that trade. Right now, bouncing back up. Spanish flash CPI at 1.9. Risk Bank raises policy rate by 25. I'm just trying to figure out why. So what I was looking at is I'm just trying to figure out why is the um, euro dollar timing a lot stronger than the other pairs. Okay, that makes some questions. Give me a second there. Check link says unable to accept invite. Can anyone? Let me just do this. Anyone put an invite link? Any of the members currently put an invite link onto the YouTube channel? Because once I load Discord, it's going to be slow. Give me a second, guys. Just a little bit of a distraction. I'll try that link. I don't know if that works. All right. Okay, let's get back to this. Euro dollar sitting right across. No big. So why? I mean, I think you guys following my stream have probably figured out that I don't like when I have to try and predict a retracement because it's almost impossible to predict. There could be so many factors on how far it could retrace. At this point, we do have a high there. It's come back up. It's found this level. I'm just checking levels right now. Could come back up to this point. I wouldn't be very comfortable to buy the euro dollar. There's no reason why it should climb too strongly. This is dropping. Okay, I'll tell you what. Look, we have been looking at Kiwi dollar sell, Aussie dollar sell, USDM buy, pound dollar sell, right? So we've been looking at a very, as much as we're looking for that retracement, look for that retracement to complete before we trade towards that dollar strength. Maybe what you could consider is if the dollar does continue to weaken all the way down, then maybe wait for the euro dollar, and this could be a scenario where the dollar reverses completely and weakens, right? So right now at 1.0915, give it a little bit more space. Give it a little bit more space. I would say that 1.0930, stop loss tight at about 25 pips, take profit It could go to 70. This would be on a dollar weakness scenario, right? Dollar weakness scenario. So 1.0930, stop loss 25, take profit 70. 1.09830. 1.0930, stop loss 25, take profits. Take profit. Okay. Dollar looking like it's struggling a little bit, but we'll see how it goes there. Okay, but this could work out quite nicely. So as we looked at the US yen possibly retracing, it looks like I'm still looking at the upside potential. Pound dollar sitting right there, euro dollar possibly pushing back up. Looking at the pound yen, I was very hawkish. I was very keen on looking for this to push back up. I think that this is off the watch list for me for now. Looks like it's going to the way the pound dollar is moving is counteracting the movement on the US yen, on the weakness of the yen. So I think that is going to form a trade within this range, and very soon, right, it might even come and form that idea of an inverted head and shoulder, right? Could be a shoulder here, or even could be a shoulder here. I prefer this shoulder, right? With the neckline there, we might see it trade to the downside, especially if the pound dollar continues to weaken, or even an intervention from the Bank of Japan. So I wouldn't be putting this high on my watch list. Only thing I'll be considering is whether there is a bit of a head and shoulder pattern forming for the pound yen. Okay, so I'll take that out of my list for now. Then onto the euro yen. I know I'm doing this just because I know I can see Lydia on the session, so doing that. We did US yen, so euro yen very similar to the pound yen. It is held at that 158 round number resistance level. Does have a little bit more of an upside potential, considering that we're thinking the euro dollar might push up. So if the euro dollar pushes up, US yen, although it's retracing, we're still looking for the upside. We could see this push and break above 158. So the main question here is what happens. The main question is whether it can break above 158, right? I would say trade to the next round number, towards from 158 to 159. If it breaks 159, then from 159 to 160. That's how I would be looking at, especially as it hits into that major historic highs. Okay. So that's pound yen, euro yen, US yen, pound dollar, euro dollar done. US Swiss franc, yesterday we were saying do nothing on that because it was right in the middle there at that 0.8950 range. Dollar strengthened. Obviously, we saw the US yen, the US Swiss franc push to the upside. Now with the dollar trading back down, possibly trading back down, we could see this push back down. What you could be looking for in the smaller trade, a bit of a double top forming here. I would say at that level, you could be looking to sell it down, say 8959, take profit 30 pips. This is a very small trade. Stop loss is right in the middle there. So stop loss ideally will be about 30 pips. You're looking at a 1:1 to the downside. This would be a trade that could work out quite nicely. but then you would also be looking at this as a very small short-term trade. Okay, so just watch out for that. If it has the big momentum, then you could also see it push down towards the 0.89 level. I think as a realistic target, 30 pips to the downside, 1:1. So 8959, 8960, 30 pips, 30 pips. US Swiss franc. So 0.8960, stop loss 30, take profit 30. Okay, again, a big reminder to everyone is that it's not always, right? It might come to the point where there'll be no trades, right? So don't feel like you have to rush or have to force a trade out. Even if it does come to that point and it looks like it's coming close but bouncing back up, don't have to force out a trade. Then this was a little bit of a surprise, well, not a big surprise, but dollar strengthening, pushing the US CAD up. So we take that away. The trend line is broken. So I'll take that away as well. Same thing, actually, very similar to yesterday's view. Tested, might have a double opportunity here. Might have a double opportunity here because this is a bit, again, like a double top, breaking the neckline. We could see a trade back down, right? We could see it trade, oops. We could see it trade back down. Alternatively, it could get to that resistance level. If the dollar strengthens, I would say a more likely scenario comes down to this 1.3250 support. And I don't want to, I'm not comfortable looking to buy this up because of the big downtrend recently. So I would I'll prefer more that we'll be looking to sell this down 1.3240, maybe 1.3230, just to be a bit safer. Stop loss 30 pips. Take profit, go down to that 80 pips to the downside. It is consolidating. That's fair. I think that's good. Okay, 1.3230, stop loss 30, take profit 80. Sell below 1.3230, stop loss 30, take profit 80. Looking for that continuation of the trend to the downside on the US CAD. All right, cool. Then lastly, on gold, right? We were looking for this to continue to the downside. It did not retrace. It's right at that level. I was looking yesterday, break 1907 before further downside. It has broken 1907, consolidating, so it's struggled a little bit. I think that one could happen right now. I'm still looking for the downside on gold, but looking at it here, it might retrace before turning back down again. So I would say gold, I'm looking for it to retest 1910, but only downside if break below 1907 again. Okay. Hope that makes sense to all of you. That's the view on the major pairs. It's all sitting right there still, so no big updates on the new hour. It's still forming up, not doing too much. Pound dollar might happen slightly. Euro dollar looks like an interesting move. And that's it. Alrighty. So please remember, do help me out. Click that like and subscribe button on whichever platform you are on. If you have any feedback, do put it into the chats. Let me know. If you haven't already, do join the Discord channel. With all that said, I hope you trade well, trade safe. Let's take our discussion into the Discord channel. And I'll see you all tomorrow, 3 p.m. GMT plus 8. Take care now.